So here's the before on my beautiful client, Jamie. As you can see, she has been growing out her gray hair for quite some time. So today I went in and I did some Airtouch on her. I did back-to-back slices. I used Blondie Schwarzkopf and 13 volume for the bulk of this because especially since her hair is curly, I don't want to damage her curls. And then for the top section, I did bump it up to 20 volume just so that this way I can make sure it, keeps everything at pace, if you will. Um, I did use my vellum comb, but I didn't actually use it, if that makes sense. So I did back-to-back slices. I wanted to get all of the box color that was in her hair out of her hair. So the best way to do that is, in my opinion, Airtouch, because then it blends her gray into the gray that we did today, and it creates a really seamless look, as you will see later on in the video. So yeah, so in this section here that I'm working on now, I actually did bump up to 20 volume. That's where I just disappeared and came back, was remixing that. I like to keep the product strong, so I tend to mix smaller increments. And then as you can see, I'm just doing an air touch. And if there were any pieces of her natural color that were running all the way down to the ends, I actually pulled those out because they kind of are going to act as a low light, as dimension. So there's no need to, lighten something that's already dark anyway from her natural hair color. So I'm just finishing up the last of this section and then I'm going to flip her around, and I did 2 back-to-back foils for her money piece. These I took much smaller subsections and put them back to back, if that makes sense, just so that I could really make sure they're nice and saturated, and she's a really nice bright silvery piece right around her face. And then after I finished doing her application here, which you will see right now, I let her process for about 30 minutes, and I'm now pulling everything out. I mean, how satisfying is this foil pull? Like, who is not satisfied by a foil pull? Like, come on. And I made sure to rinse her with cool water. I just tend to use cool water. I think it's better for the hair. Hot water tends to blast open the cuticle, and it just makes the hair rougher. So I tend to always stay away from hot water. So I'm going to just shampoo her hair here. I'm using the Wella Purple shampoo right now. And I did actually let this sit on for probably 2 to 5 minutes while I was mixing up her toner, just so it would pre-tone her hair and help aid in achieving a more silvery blonde. So now I am doing that second shampoo. I'm making sure I actually mix the regular Wella Color shampoo and the purple shampoos together, just to dilute it a little bit, but just so I could really cleanse her hair. And I towel dried, and I'm now applying Wella Pale Silver. And I used 6 volume because at this point I'm not trying to break her base. I'm more trying to deposit the tones of the silver in her hair. I also did double tone her with Riken 9B, and let me tell you, sometimes double toning is just chef's kiss, if you will. So anywho, so now we're moving on to her haircut. I'm going to be just trimming up her ends about 1.5 to 2 inches. She's been loving the lob haircut. It's super easy, super low maintenance for her. So I'm just going to go through section by section and just, trim her up, make sure all her ends are cleaned up and everything's nice and even. That's what we like here. And when I do a haircut, especially a lob cut and it's blunt, I go over it a few times. So usually I'll do like the initial haircut when it's wet. Then when I rough dry her, like you're gonna see me do here, which I am prepping her hair with Olaplex 6 and 7, just so that you know. So the smoothing cream and the oil. And I'm using my Famar vented brush to just basically rough dry her and get her dry and straights, because I'm going to go in and do flat iron curls. But once I'm done blowing her out and everything's smoothed out, I will check the haircut again just to confirm and make sure everything. And there are a few pieces where I just had to, just trim them up a little bit more, make sure everything lined up correctly. But I'm very OCD with the way I do things. I like things to be done the right way, and I like to double check my work just because it ensures that everything's perfect. And I think that's a really important thing in this career is, people notice these tiny little things. One side is slightly longer, so like right here, I'm just going back over the cut, just making sure there's no little, pieces that were pulled or that I missed, anything like that. And for the most part, I was just making sure everything was lined up and cleaned up. And yeah, pretty simple. And now we are on to the styling part of the service. So I like to take my from our ventilated brush and just go over the ends first, just to make sure that those are nice and smoothed out. And then I'm gonna go in and beach wave with my Hot Tools flat iron. I use 385 degrees. I find that that's a really good temperature, at least for this flat iron. It's not too hot, not too like weak, if that makes sense, especially on curlier textures, like where you need a little bit more of the heat. And I alternated my sectioning. So the first section I did toward the face, that underneath. The next section I went away from the face, and then continued on until the top. And anything that's right around the face or on top is always away from the face. That's a rule of thumb for me as a hairstylist, but you can do whatever you feel is right for you. There is no right or wrong way to do hair. Well, now there is a wrong way to do hair, but that's a different story for a different day. We won't touch on to that. So I'm just going back in on each side now and just, curling, finishing her up. This was her second session, actually, of a color correction. When I met her, she had basically like a dark, like reddish brown color. And she had been letting her gray grow out for probably about like a year and a half, 2 years at this point. And then I went in and did a first session, and this is the second session. And this is a little trick that I like to do with bangs. I like to use the flat iron and a round brush together so that it sets the shape like a blowout, if you will, but you're getting the benefit of using the flat iron. And then I'm just taking a little bit more Olaplex 7 here, and I'm just opening up her hair. And this side, her right side felt slightly longer, so I was like, let me go back in and just fix that up. You tend to notice things on camera, and you also tend to notice things in the mirror. And then this is the process of her color correction, her starting off, and then this is today's before and after. So tell me what you think, comment down below, let me know. Have a good one.